Hello everyone, welcome to the video. In today's video I'm going to be going over the safest races that I believe are the safest to invest in for either new players or long time players, which is the safest race to invest in terms of if you summoning on a collab and they've got this race, or you're summoning for a character and they've got this race, is it a safe race to invest in based off race, not the actual characters themselves. There are some characters, for example, first of all, Deanne, she really works with any race because she isn't tied to a race, which is cool. But of course, I will not be counting her in that. She'll be put with the Giants. First, we're going to go with Demons. Demons is a very safe race to invest in. Unfortunately, we don't actually have any collabs for Demons. But it's a reason. There is quite a big reason why there is a safe bet to invest in them. You have, of course, LR Melly, who of course works for pretty much Sins and Demons, which is good. Esteros is very good. You've got, of course, these two here, which are good for mono demon teams. And mono demon teams in general are just very good. Yes, we don't get demons very often, but we're pretty much guaranteed a melee every new year, which is a guaranteed good demon. And demons have been known to be busted. Demon King, for an example, which means investing into demons and summoning for new demons is probably quite a good thing to do, especially because we have a lot of support characters. The only thing demons are really missing is a basic stat booster. I'm not including Esterosa. He does do darkness, but I'm not including Esterosa for in general just giving out darkness because yes, it's good, but it's not just straight basic stats, which is what you would kind of want for demons. Is you just want immediate basic stats turn one. For example, Unknown has that, Goddesses have that, Giants have that, but it's just demons and humans do not have immediate basic stat giving. But apart from that, it's a very safe race to invest in. We get a melee every new year, so you're pretty much guaranteed to have a somewhat meta team for a little while, because melees are always busted. Purg melee, Lost Vein, LR Lost Vein melee, and even just Lost Vein melee when released. Even Traitor melee was busted. Onto the next race, Giants. Giants, they're not the safest race to invest in if you're going for a mono Giants team. They're actually, I would say, second worst. Maybe even, yeah, I'm going to say second worst. They do have basic stat boosters, or a basic stat booster, which is Matrona. You also got Blue Matrona, which has her passive and her relic. Her relic doesn't work in passive doesn't work in PvP, but her relic does. So you're probably going to end up going with Red Matrona, but she does have a relic which boosts his basic stats and does work in the back as well, which is kind of nice. You've also got Deanne and Scardy as well, which can work well. You also got Eren as well. I'm also going to be carrying Eren in this. I know it is an additional race, but he does work on the Mono Giants team, so I will be going with him as well. Overall, it's not the safest race to invest in if you are going for a mono sort of style team. For a meme, it's okay, or if there's a PvP rule, it might not be too bad, but probably not the safest race to invest in. Most of the best Giants in the game don't really work well with Giants alone. A big example of that is Queen Diane and Scardy. They both don't require Giants to thrive, and they thrive very well. You've got this PvE character, you've got a character that pretty much only works with Ragnaroks, so a lot of the Giants don't work well with one another, but of course you do have Blue and Red Matrona's Relic that does have the basic stat boost, which is kind of nice. Humans are quite a safe bet to invest in, mainly because you can see all the collaboration characters around here. They do get a lot of collabs. Unknown and humans do end up getting a lot of the collaboration characters, because Netmarble is very picky with races. Either you're a human or you're an unknown. There's no in between, which I think is kind of they should really just loosen up a little bit, give the game a little bit of variety when it comes to races, because it's kind of boring, just humans and unknowns only. I would like maybe a goddess or a demon or something along the lines of that, but the best we get is an additional giant race, and giants aren't the best anyway. Let's face it. But apart from that, humans are a very safe bet to invest in, because of course, if you're looking at the Sins, you've got Escanor and Barn, who are very powerful. You also got, of course, Chaos Arthur maybe coming in the future, so he's a human as well. That'll be good. Collaborations have a lot of humans. Some of them could be good. For example, we have Reinhardt, who was like very busted. And then, of course, you have Eren, who is not too bad. But they've also got a lot of PvE characters as well, which is why it's quite good to invest in them. You've got Barn here. If you're going for a mono humans team, you've got Brynhild, very good PvE character. You've got, of course, Kizuna. You've got Tonar up here. You've got the Red Tonar, which is good for Skull and Hearty. And is not a too bad race overall to invest in. Yeah, because a lot of these characters are good for utility, somewhere along the lines. You've got Kyo, which is good for that one knighthood boss. You've got Death Pierce, which is he was not bad at the time, and I guess still can be useful to this day in Chaos PvP mode if they ever bring it back. You've got Brynhild, which is good for Rag as well. You know, all of these characters work very well with each other. PvE and PvP is actually Human probably has the best split of PvE and PvP characters, and it's probably the best one, best race to invest in for overall usage of PvE and PvP, because well, they have a lot of just you've got people like Arthur, which is a lot of they have a lot of HP boosters and a lot of just random attack boosters like this man here, Death Pierce, which lowers defense, stuff like that. This Arthur, that increases damage dealt. On to the next race, we have Fairies. I'm going to say probably very close. I'm going to say that they're at the bottom, mainly because they don't have a very big variety of characters. With Giants, you can run a 4-man Giants team. Yes, you can do this with this team as well, but this team, I would say, has less synergy. I'm counting Eren as a Giant as well. The Giants team with Eren is usable. A full Fairy team, it could be usable, but their CC is going to be so shocking, you never go in first. If you're, let's just say, you're versing, you've got everyone wailed out, and you're versing someone else who also has everything wailed out using a meta team, you're most likely not going to be going first, because, they don't have the best CC. Also, they don't have the best synergy with each other. Glocks doesn't really have a very selfless passive. His passive seems to be very selfish. And because of that, he doesn't really contribute to the team. And you have his what's it called, commandment as well, which also is kind of a hindrance. So I'm definitely putting Fairies last. I do think that if we were to get maybe an original character Fairy, or in the future just more different named Fairies that we could run that are not either Helbram, Elaine, King, or Glocks, I do think there is a chance that they might not be too bad, especially with this, is it this Elaine? It is this Elaine, with this Elaine, which is the brand new one, who also, for some reason, they put in these tickets, which I thought was really weird. Like, she's a seasonal character, but I'm not going to complain. Anyway, on to Goddesses. Goddesses are a very safe bet to invest in for, of course, Nidhogg, but also for the fact it's got Liz. Liz is a very... Well, she's going to be in the 4 nights when they start adding the 4 night stuff, because it's Liz. And they'll probably end up adding, more seasonals, because they've only just started adding seasonals to this. Yes, you could say, oh, yes, but you've got this summer Liz, or, the millions of Christmas Lizzes. But yeah, I don't count them really as seasonals. Seasonals are more like PvP viable, or just in general viable characters. A good example is this Ludo, or Margaret. She is very good for Demonic Beast. But they have very good Demonic Beast one to invest in, as well as for Knighthood points, if you do Knighthood. If not, it's still not too bad. They have quite high basic stats, and of course with Mael, they were back in meta for just a little while. You've also got the Graces as well, which is kind of useful for Goddesses, and it's quite actually good to invest in the Graces. Even, for example, I don't use this Ludo at all, and I never have, but his Graces can actually be pretty useful, and he's got decent CC, so you can use him as a Link. Red Sariel's good for Link, Green Sariel for Link, Margarets, both the Margarets have the same Grace, so it's good for Link, Blue Tamio, Red Tamio, so on and so forth. You're more likely going to be using them for Links if you're not going to use them overall, and Links are, well, the Graces themselves are very powerful, and I highly recommend using them for Graces if you don't like Goddesses in general. Anyway, on to Unknown, which, as you can see, is a sea of collaboration characters, which is, it's okay, it's good. It does make Unknown very broken. Of course, they have a lot of familiar faces from the Ragnarok story, as well as having the new Hell, which is currently very busted. And I do think that Unknown is definitely a very safe bet. They have a lot of debuffers, they have a lot of stat boosters. Most Unknowns have something to do with stat boosting either allies, or they all have some sort of thing to buff allies. If I was to go to Freya, her passive, increase the heroes per Ragnarok on the field. That's very selfless, but then she has increased allies pierce rate. So she's buffing them to a point. You've got this random Merlin here, increasing unknown allies' damage dealt. You've got Ram, the Nashi stat boosters. You've got Rimuru, who steals buffs off the enemies, which is kind of nice. You've got Tyr, that lowers the enemy's crit resistance. You've got Ghislaine, who absorbs the incoming attacks. You've got Freya, who is... no, she is actually selfish, but she also has a taunt as well, which is kind of useful. Shuna's a full support character. They have a lot of either stat boosters or support characters, which is kind of good because a lot of those support characters can also be DPSs. These two are probably the best examples. They are supports in their own category, they are tanks, but they've also got the ability from their passives or through relics or through just having very high stats in general or a good team, are able to dish out insane amounts of damage and can be very irritating to deal with because the fact they got a taunt character that lowers stats and automatically targets one character all the time. Freya is probably the best example of it. She has damage dealt, so that means not even, what's his name? Not even Mael can sort of out DPS it. When it came to Ghislaine, Mael wasn't too bad because Ghislaine lowers attack related stats instead of damage dealt, which is what Freya does. You've also got a lot of collaboration characters, like I say. Echidna is very broken even to this day. She's, a year old, and she's still very good. Philo, absolutely terrifying to verse when she came out, and is still not too bad today, especially if you've got a lot of debuffs. She is a very selfish but also selfless character. Her relic is very selfish, but her passive is very selfless, decreasing the enemy's defense-related stats up to 40%, which, if you match it with Tyr, is quite good, but also has a little bit of a selfish bit where her single target skills do more damage if the enemies have 5 debuffs or more, which is kind of nice, to have selfish and selflessness on a character, and they all sort of complement each other very well. We get unknowns very frequently. Like, if we were to look at characters that released this year, some off the top of my head, we have, of course, Hell. You've got Ghislaine, the collaboration Roxy. You've also got Green Freya, Red Freya, Tyr. That's all the unknowns we've had? Oh, and Tristan. But Tristan doesn't work with unknowns because, don't know, he wants to work with his mum and dad instead. He has to pick a side. But apart from that, there has been a lot of unknown characters, and they get a lot of stat boosting relics. Freya is a good example. I was expecting him to really get a Demonic Beast relic, and he ended up getting, all works everywhere, increases base stats, and single target damage dealt, which is kind of insane. They also all have decently powerful ultimates. Ghislaine has Power Strike AoE, Tyr has Sever AoE, Rimuru has Abyss AoE, Abyss, Element Blast, whatever the bloody hell it's called. What's it called? Element Explosion, that's what it's called. Which is also very good at 6/6. You've got Hell, which also has a very strong ult at 6/6, giving her 50% damage dealt, and all the enemies take 50% more damage. Of course, 50% more damage is a way to bypass people like the Ultimate One and Mael, who have the immunity to be stat lowered, but they can, of course, have their damage dealt to them increased. But that's it. I would say if I was to rank them, I would say Unknown probably number 1. It's the easiest one to invest in. They've got a lot of very broken collaboration characters. Future collabs will probably have a lot of unknowns as well. It's a very easy one to invest in. And with Four Knights of the Apocalypse, we have a lot of the Sins kids, which are, of course, none of the Sins that are in relationships are the same race. So there's going to be a lot of unknowns coming out of that. So, of course, do bear that in mind when you invest. Goddesses, I'm going to put, 3rd, because they are useful, but they always end up getting outclassed in PvP. That means they've been more relegated to, a PvE Demonic Beast race, which I sort of make as a joke, as in Mael's a Demonic Beast character, and that they should give him a Demonic Beast relic. I do believe that, because, well, he's okay, but unfortunately everyone else outshines him. Fairies I'm going to put as the worst, mainly because they don't have, there's only really 3 of them that have synergy. Glox has no synergy at all, and there's no additional race fairy, so you can't really fill that slot. I'm going to put humans at number 2. Easily humans at number 2. Of course, collaborations, they're good for PvE, good for PvP. You've got Escanor, you've got Bon. You got Chaos Arthur coming up. You're probably gonna have a bunch of other new Arthurs and all that kind of stuff coming out with 4 Knights. So of course, humans are definitely going to be a safe bet to invest in now and for the future in general. Giants, I'm going to put second last, mainly because they do have a very good synergizing team. You've got Skadi to lower the enemy's defense-related stats and increase your own damage dealt. You've got Deanne, I'm counting Matrona as a back unit, and of course Aaron as a front unit as well. So you've got the good, you've got a taunt, you've got DPS, and you've got a support as well as having a stat booster in the back. It's a good overall team, but it just doesn't have the ability to keep up with today's meta, which is very DPS heavy and very just. I guess Skadi can keep up with debuff spam, but the others not really. Demons I'm definitely going to put at number 3. But the only reason I'm putting them at number 3 is because they're a very PvP oriented race. A lot of them are not the best at PvP. Yes, I could say there is a lot that are good in PvE. You've got like Red Molascular, all these characters are good for PvE, but they're not. But they can be easily outclassed by humans, or by unknowns, or by goddesses in terms of PvE. But in PvP, phenomenal. Very good race. Very likely to stay sub-meta or meta for a very long time. Because, of course, Melee's released regularly, and you've got DK who's broken, you've got Molascular who's got good relics. All these characters have quite a lot of good synergy. Esterosa's relic, it doesn't sound like a lot, but the ability to remove an old gauge can sometimes be really clutch, and I really do like it because of that. But anyway, that's it. It's all up to you guys which race you want to invest in, but I would say you want to stick with unknowns, humans, and demons. Of course, there are the odd giants and fairies that are good to invest in, and then of course, that's it really, isn't there? There's not one. Demons are good. Giants, there's the odd giant here and there, that's good. Humans are very good to invest in. Fairies, of course, the odd one that's good to invest in. Goddesses, good for PvE, highly recommend still. And Unknown, probably the best in terms of PvE and PvP. They have a lot of util, a lot of DPS, a lot of non-restricted passives, and a lot of restricted as well, which means you have quite a lot of choice in PvE and in PvP for which characters you would like to use. But anyway, thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you guys next one. Goodbye.